Motorsport Championship action. It's round 2, race number 1 from Calder Park Raceway. And some pretty hoppy people out there. Some guys that want to hop on the gas and stay on it. Bobby Muir. Now there's a character. He'll start from P1. Mark Lauke is out there. Sam Dale. Shane and Rick Otten as well, as they come back towards the main straightaway and get set for a rolling start. Al Magritza joins me in commentary for the Ozboss Protosport Championship.
Yeah, they come down, line up here, Wado. We're in the hands of the starter. We should get the green flag here. Away they go. Look at Muir on the inside. Lauke on the outside in the west. That's the white car having a good start here too. Otten in that bunch as well, hanging on nicely. You can see just a little bit of spray left over from a shower earlier on. Oh, Shane Otten down the inside. That's the way to do it. Under brakes into turn 1.
Good to see a couple of new Wests out there starting to get their feet wet at this end of the circuit. The other end, it appears to be relatively dry, so that is probably the worst case scenario for anyone. Al, you've got intermediate conditions here.
Yeah, very changing conditions too, Wado. We could get a shower during this race. We've had intermittent conditions all morning here. These guys do have different tracks to deal with here at the moment as they work their way around on the first lap. We can see them there come their way through. Otten leads the way. There is Bobby Muir. Lauke in the Lauke flower car sits there in third place as he tries to get the power down coming out of Auto Pro corner. Then it's Sam Dale. Then we go back to the Seika there. That is the V6 twin turbo Seika there of Gibson, and all the way back Bruce Burchett at the rear of the field.
Otten in the Selenia Oil sponsored entry. Bob Muir in that V8 grunty sounding entry. He's been certainly a mainstay of Australian motorsport for many years. This is where it gets tricky. They actually go through a bit of a puddle there, and then it's patches of moisture and occasionally a bit of a dry strip, so it makes tyre selection very difficult, and it makes the idea of keeping the car straight even tougher. So they work their way through the chicane here at Calder Park Raceway, the Australian Motor Racing Championship, the AMRC, presented by the AMRC, the Australian Motor Racing Club.
Yeah, as they make their way around, Shane Otten doing a great job out in front here. Muir in second. We can see Muir there on dry tyres. He has no grooves in those slicks at all, so he's trying to pick out the dry part of the circuit. And look at the Lauke flower car, that little West, that white car sitting right in behind Mark Lauke at the wheel of that car here this weekend. Just as I said it there, Wado, Lauke puts it up on the ripple strip. He's lucky to keep that off the wall.
Well, he dragged the right rear over the ripple strip. It straightened the car up, and then all of a sudden he was, as you said, very nearly into the concrete as we watch Bobby Muir through that wet patch right there as he thunders down towards the right-hander, to use the euphemism of Con Micro from many years ago. The West running a little wide into the turn. Muir makes up a bit of ground coming in. That's where it is really slippery right there.
Well, keeping an eye on lap times at the moment, Wade, and Bobby Muir is starting to take some time out of our race leader at the moment as he tries to power towards the front of this field. Of course, has to take it easy on those dry tyres when he gets to the damper parts of this track, especially down the front straight when we see that spray shoot up. There's Bruce Burchett working his way through in car number 41. He's a long way down on his normal positions here this weekend.
The West star. Oh, look out! Lauke, a big lock up there, and he realised it was coming at the corner a whole lot quicker than he wanted to be. Gee, that's a good-looking car, isn't it? The double one car. It looks very nicely, and turned out indeed Michael Gibson in the Seika Sprint entry, as we see Sam Dale. That's somewhat of a lonely ride for him in the Fly Navy entry. So Sam Dale, the Mumba Racing entry, makes his way into that right-hander as we have a look at this immaculate ACS Devco Group number 11. Making its way out. What a great looking car.
Yeah, the Seika certainly looks good, Wade, and as I mentioned earlier, twin turbocharged V6 Mitsubishi Magna engine in the Seika.
It's an unusual motor combination, but it's certainly making the horses.
Yeah, we do have a number of different types of vehicles making up this category, and that's what makes Ozboss Racing so exciting. Bruce Burchett comes through here in West. He's a long way down. In fact, that's the race leader, Shane Otten, behind him, so he's going to put Burchett a lap down very quickly. Look at Muir now as he starts to come to grips with the changing track conditions from dry to wet as he starts to close in on the race leader.
Bobby Muir, that awesome sounding V8 is definitely gathering up the real estate between a couple of these cars out in front. The Wests are going to have their hands full here. Look out, Bobby lines him up. Oh my goodness! That was a bit frantic.
Well, Shane Oaten tried to get the power down coming onto the front straight. He realised he had to get it down as quickly as he could, otherwise Muir would shoot past him in the Reynard. And as he did, he got a little bit sideways and crashed into the side of Bruce Burchett, who he was lapping. So that's a very, very lucky incident there for both drivers. And we could just tell, Wado, that is the changing track conditions.
Well, this is a replay of it right now. You just see there, and he got on the gas and the car actually very quickly snapped loose and straight into the side of Burchett. Looks over at him like, what are you doing?
They are so lucky there as they make their way around. There is Lauke in the Lauke Flower car. We've watched him loose a couple of times, a couple of laps earlier ago as well, so he's pushing very hard. The race leader, here he comes at the moment. It is Bobby Muir who leads the way in that V8 Lexus-powered Reynard as he comes down the front straight. And then the Little West, the 1-litre motorcycle engine-powered car behind him, one of the most beautifully constructed racing vehicles I've ever seen, and that's the diversity of Ozboss.
Down into this first turn here, hard on the brakes as they sweep in after a very long straightaway. That's a massive lockout right there for the 53 car. I thought it might have been engine smoke at first for Shane there in the West, but he managed to gather it back up. He's just unfortunately flat spotted the tyres, but there's wily veteran Bobby Muir continuing on his winning way.
So it is Muir that leads the way at the moment. There is the Otten car sitting nicely in second. Lauke there sitting in third, and he is pushing hard. Look at him coming through at the moment. He's already tested the limits of adhesion a few times here at this beautiful Bob Jane Calder circuit. And this is the battle for the lead. This is the three front runners.
Hasn't Lauke gained some time up in the last lap or so? He's right up there behind. Bobby Muir managed to get through, but now the pressure is on enormously. Those Wests, we know, are extremely quick in the corners and certainly rapid in a straight line. But here's going to be interesting. The West up against the V8 in a straight line, and look at Bobby. He would be loving pulling away from those Wests, Al.
Well, Muir there, Bobby Muir leading the way. He gets away nicely. Otten sits lovely there in second position, but he has got the Lauke Flower car right behind him, and there can't be many laps left, Wado, as we work our way around this beautiful Calder Park circuit.
Lauke's just prepared to push that little bit harder. You can see the car squirming under load. It wants to break loose over the top of the hill. Gee, Otten very quick to defend that second position just then. They are a fantastic looking car. They're so low down, so aerodynamic, and they really have a GP feel about them. Once again, Lauke closing in.
So Bobby Muir in the V8 Reynard leads the way. Then it's one of those beautiful Wests sitting nicely in second.
Dale.
Looks like Sam Dale having some chronic problems there. That could be the end of his race. Now a battle between the Wests as they come down the front straight, and Lauke goes around the outside of Otten. So Lauke now up in the second position. Muir leads the way. Lauke, can he get on the brakes? He just manages to close the corner off. That was a good move, Wade.
Here's the replay, Al. You just see him as he had to be aggressive with this. He got a good run on the outside. He realised he'd still left the door open, and he had to slam back across. There's smoke. I had wondered about that before. Coming into turn one, it wasn't all tyre smoke, I don't think, for Otten, Al. He's got some issues. That's
a problem there for Shane Otten. He was leading this race, now back in third position. Hopefully he can get that West to the finish line. Muir leads the way. Then it's Lauke closing in now on the race leader. Otten doing his best to hang into third place there, with still that trail of smoke coming out the back of his beautiful yellow West.
So getting towards the business end of it now, the run towards the checkered flag. Muir, enormous pressure from Lauke in the dying stages of this, and Bobby Muir looking over quite cheekily as he stretches the legs again over Lauke. That's where Lauke knows, I'm going to have to do something special on the other side of the circuit. We're very close to the end of this race.
Yeah, that is Muir's place down the front straight. Look at Lauke again, deep under brakes. He closes right up through the turns. Now we'll see the West use its cornering ability, its braking ability, its handling to the fore here as it comes right up behind car number 7 as Muir leads the way. Muir already goes a little bit defensive there as he goes onto the inside of the apex for that turn, but Bobby Muir knows only one way, and that's flat out, Wado, and he leads the way at the moment.
He's going to have a battle on his hands from this point onwards, though. You can see the dirt all over the Lauke car. Again, he gets a little sideways through that turn. He stands on the gas, this guy. He knows he must get a run at Muir here if he can, because the straight line thing is an issue. Muir under siege. 1 lap to go. Lauke will lose sight of that little buffer he had just then, but he's about to work hard for it again.
We go back in the pack. There is the Seeker, the V6 Magna-powered Seeker of Gibson as it makes its way around the circuit. Car number 11 looks beautiful here at Calder Park as he weaves around with just one lap left to go. A little bit of flame coming out there on the overrun from that turbocharged Mitsubishi engine.
Yes, flames from a Mitsubishi. It's an interesting concept, isn't it? Now, Lauke is going to give Bob Muir a nightmare in the next several hundred metres, I am sure. He's exactly where he needs to be now. He's close enough. This is where Muir's on the ropes. What's he going to do?
Couple of corners left here. Will the Lauke Flower car have a go? My thinking is he will, Wado. He doesn't want to sit back there and say, look at Muir go right to the inside of the circuit there, give Lauke no room to sneak up the inside. He then comes back across the other side. Now Lauke's tried a different line there. He's looking through here, but he can't get up on the side of Muir, and he'll have to be content with second at the moment, but we've still got a couple of turns to go.
Oh, he's a crafty old bugger, isn't he, Bobby Muir? Well done. A clever drive. He knew that Lauke had the speed in the corners. Lauke steps on it again. Oh, it's broken loose. The crew scatter from the walls. Lauke 720s it, in fact, probably more. Across the line, holds on to get second. That is going to be the most spectacular finish I've seen lately.
Unbelievable, Wado. Second place. Here's the replay. Across the start-finish line, airborne, all four wheels off the grass, spins back onto the tar and manages to head in a straight direction.
That's what you call self-raising flour right there, Al. Muir holds on to take the win from Lauke, Otten, Gibson, Birch. Of race number 2 of the Ozboss Proto Sports Championship, and Bobby Muir was going to be a tough man to beat. Lauke, he's very exciting, isn't he? Throughout this race, he was certainly with the tail out. Lauke locked up a break, though. Shane Otten was trying to get up the inside, and unfortunately, he tapped him. Michael Gibson did a pretty good job to stay out of the way, but as you're about to see, Gibson's weekend was about to get a bit more spectacular. Lauke overtook Otten. Michael Gibson had problems. You know what they say about where there's smoke, there's fire? Well, have a look at that. It's barbecues galore, unfortunately, on Gibson's beautiful car. He was trying to put the fire out himself. No one could put the fire out in old Bobby Muir. He was having a tremendous battle with Lauke and that Lauke flower car. Muir, no one could hose him off. He took the win. Nice drive, too, over Lauke in that second spot. Final results for race number 2 saw Bobby Muir get the win over Mark Lauke from Shane Otten. Time now for some awesome Pirelli Gran Turismo racing right now. Round 2, race number 3, and an interesting mix of cars out here. Aside, of course, from our good friends in those magnificent Maserati GT3s. Ross Lilly is here in the Laminex Lamborghini. David Stevens is here in the beautiful Brennan Firemate Ferrari. Al Magritza, some motorsports exotica on the grid for this rolling start.
Oh, Wado, what a class of class cars, if I can say that way. Look at Lilly get away. There's Stevens in the Ferrari. Largo trying to get up the inside of him there in the Porsche. This is a good start. And Stevens on the outside there. Lilly leads the way. Stevens better under brakes than the Ferrari. He slips through. Then it is Largo. Then it is Wilson. Oh, Kempnitz there with some problems already. And Manolius there slips up the inside in the Maserati.
So Leadfoot Lilly leads Largo at the Calder Park Raceway, and if you throw Stevens in the Brennan IT Ferrari, the NEC sponsored entry, this is going to be a good heads-up battle. Rod Wilson is going to have his hands full here today. Got some big players just up in front of him.
Certainly some exotica out there, that's for sure. Lilly has been the quickest man all weekend in that Lamborghini Gallardo as he makes his way around at the moment at the front of this pack. But the person who's taken it right up to him as we go on board with Lilly, we can see him working in that beautiful ex-John Bowell Lamborghini there as he works his way around the Calder Park track. There is Stevens in second. Look at Largo there in third. He's got Ross Wilson all over the back of him, Roddy Wilson, all over the back of Largo.
So it's Lilly, the Leadfoot, in the Laminex Lamborghini leading Largo. So they work their way into turn 1. It's frantic out there, and you can see now Stevens putting a lot of pressure on now. Voice Data IT, Brennan IT, they do it all. The 43 car gets way sideways then. The NEC sponsorship on the bonnet. It got a good look at the opposite end of the corner then.
Yeah, lucky to get that Ferrari through there and not be pointing in the opposite direction, that's for sure, Wado.
Oh, look at Largo. How hard's he pushing in third?
Yeah, Largo doing a great job there in third. Lilly leads the way. Stevens has been very quick. We go on board Ford now with Stevens in the Ferrari, sitting very close there to his steering wheel. Must be the driving position he likes. There's the paddle shifter on the Ferrari as we see him go through. Oh, this is a great racing category, no doubt about it, as they come down onto the front straight, and the big Lamborghini Gallardo leads the way there. Ferrari F430 sits nicely in second. Roger Largo in that Porsche Cup car, and then Roddy Wilson in that Maserati Trofeo Motorsport GT3.
And the Maserati's had some star quality behind the wheel, just a recent too. Formula One champion behind the wheel. Very exciting as we watch Rod. Looking fairly casual behind the wheel.
Yeah, always does a great job, Rod Wilson. He not only provides the tyres through Pirelli for this series, it's a control tyre, but he runs the two-car team and he puts the whole package together nicely. And the Pirelli Gran Turismo is a very welcome part of the Australian Motor Racing Championships.
You see Jim Manolius a little bit further back than he would like to be at the moment, as we see Largo. Mark 1 Porsche, very busy behind the wheel at the moment. We take a nice low-down shot. You can see the length of the shifter just off to his right there, and the yellow strip on the steering wheel, which so many guys use to keep an idea when the wheels are centered, when the steering wheel's up there. You now see Wilson is giving Largo heaps as they come back down the main straightaway.
Looking at the timers, Largo is the quickest car down the front straightway, though, so that Porsche is certainly not short on Mumbo, and we can see the amount of car length there that he pulled away from Wilson. Now Wilson comes back with the big brakes and the handling of the Maserati. Gee, that Porsche is quick in a straight line.
Well, Largo's really driving the wheels off it just to keep up on the pace, the Lamborghini and the Ferrari in front of him. Wow, talk about exotic. You've got a Lamborghini leading a Ferrari F430, back to the Porsche and the Maserati. So plenty of stuff to drool about in the top four as we now have a look. The Laminex Inspire Your Space Lamborghini just ahead of Brennan. And they're getting down towards the business end of this, and certainly, I shouldn't say Brennan, it's Stevens in the Brennan IT car is starting to really put the pressure on now. So Lilly is about to be a busy boy.
Well, Lilly was the quickest in practice. He was the quickest in qualifying. He started out of pole position. He's been the quickest all weekend, and look at Stevens taking it to him here in this race. Ross Lilly hasn't been used to this here in qualifying practice. Oh, Stevens has a look down the inside, just lets Lilly know he's there, gets a little loose. They're side by side as they come out of turn one. Look at Stevens fight the wheel there and the paddle shifter as he tries to get in control of car number 43.
Wow, that's just how much horsepower this car must really have. You just see, oh, Lilly had the car stepped out over the top of the hill as well. These guys glued together. Stevens making a significant play for the lead here. Lilly will have to give up the corner. Good drive. Oh, they don't give up the corner. That could have got ugly.
Stevens right up on the ripple strip there. Lilly must be very hard to see out of these cars, Wado, to sleek windscreens, the small side windows, but they were side by side. Stevens up the inside, and we've now got a Ferrari F430 leading this race.
There's the replay up the inside, a commanding move by Stevens. He owned the corner, that's for sure. You'd think for all that money you'd get a bigger windscreen, wouldn't you?
As they work their way down the front straight, Stevens can see plenty out of his big windscreen at the moment, and it's plenty of nothing because he's leading the race. Lilly is behind him, and he's looking at the rear wing of that Ferrari at the moment as car 57, the next car there, works its way around. Ferrari leads Lamborghini Gallardo. Porsche sits in third place.
Over the top of the hill once more, and now it's Lilly who has to contemplate what he's going to do with this F430 of Stevens. They charge down towards this right-hander. This is where Stevens made the pass a lap earlier. Look at the Lamborghini close in under brakes. Both these cars very nicely turned out, and certainly they are thoroughbreds in the motorsport landscape.
Well, 20 laps this race was when we started, Wade. Plenty of time still to go in this Pirelli Gran Turismo as they work their way around this beautiful Calder circuit down the front straight. We go back to one of the Maseratis there. That would be Roddy Wilson, I believe, who will be sitting. No, it's Jim Manolius who's sitting at the back of this pack at the moment. He's had a terrible weekend. There is Wilson. We can see now car 28. He's sitting nicely in fourth position, and he came to round two here at Calder Park, championship leader.
Well, they're coming out to put a lap down on the Porsche at the moment. That might be Russell Kempnich, I think, is about to go a lap down. Rod Wilson, certainly the leader coming in, but he's had to play third and fourth fiddle to a couple of very nicely turned out cars, the Lamborghini and the Ferrari. You just see now Stevens is starting to open up a bit of a buffer over Ross Lilly. This is definitely going to cause him some concern because I don't know how he's going to run down our race leader. The lap car came at a perfectly timed opportunity on the main straight. They could just blow right by Russell, not have to worry about him.
Yeah, Kempnitz gets out of the way. Stevens goes through. There goes Ross Lilly. He goes through in the Lamborghini Gallardo. As we go back on board with Lilly, look at the concentration in his eyes as he works his way through turns 1 and 2 and starts to work over the back part of this Calder Park circuit as he works his way around, and some good on-board footage here from this Lamborghini. There is Stevens, the race leader. There is the car we were just on board, car 57, that Lamborghini Gallardo. That just rolls off the tongue, Wado, doesn't it? Lamborghini Gallardo.
It's a magnificent car, a thoroughbred, that's for sure. Likewise, this car too, the F430 has been, I mean, where do you stop? You go back to the magnificent Maseratis that you can actually drive on race weekends as well, the ultimate driving experience cars of Manolius and Wilson. As you said, these cars on the Pirelli control spec tyre for the series. Rod Wilson is the national distributor for the Pirelli tyre, and as they work their way down the main straightaway, there's talk of plenty more cars for the next round in this championship, Al.
Now that'll be good to see, Wado. Can only go strength to strength, these beautiful motor cars. Pirelli Gran Turismo motor cars working around in racing form. It's just lovely to see. There is Stevens, leads the way nicely. Lilly hasn't given up on him, though. Lilly's right there. He's been looking around as we go back on board with the Porsche of Kempnitz as he works his way around at the back of the field.
Yeah, the Sedgman Limited entry to see how busy he is behind the wheel. The window net just off to the right-hand side of his shoulder. Wow, very busy is the bespectacled, it's a difficult word to say at times, Russell Kempnitz, as he has a bit of a lone ride there at the moment. It's all about personal bests for him out there in that number 40 car. As he works his way down to our camera position with this hard right-hander. You can see in the background Largo is just starting to come on, and if anything, Largo was given Rod Wilson a feat that he just can't overcome at the moment.
Yeah, Kempnitz, the lap down on the leaders here, will be taken over by Largo next, who sits nicely in third place. In fact, it is just the final lap. Stevens leads the way. We've just got one circuit of this Calder Park to go, and it is Stevens that leads the way. Lilly uses the ripple strips there, so he's serious here in second place. This is going to be a good battle, Wade.
Started right out of time. He's going to have to do it very quickly, and I don't know where he's going to be that much quicker than Stevens to be able to pull it off. That's the big issue. This is the biggest braking opportunity, really, as they come up now behind Manolius, and he's not close enough to make up the ground. Certainly the Lamborghini does close in there, but Stevens is very good in this part of the circuit right now.
Oh, Lilly pushing hard there through those two corners as he tries to make up the distance, but I think you're right, Wado. Stevens has done a great job here. He started out a second. Oh, Lilly! Oh, that's how hard he was trying, sideways onto the front straight. David Stevens will see the checkered flag. Lilly will go through in second position, and Roger Largo rounds out the top three.
The Laminex Leadfoot, that was exciting. Let's take a look at the way they finished. And well done, David Stevens over Ross Lilly, Roger Largo, Rod Wilson, Jim Manolius and Russell.
Race weekend number 4 of the FIA World Touring Car Championship for 2008, and it's France, the venue. Pau is the city street track that has got the longest heritage of all of them. They raced here first in 1901, and over a century later, they're still holding their annual street race. The 68th Grand Prix of Pau would feature the World Touring Car Championship for the second time, visiting the French track close to the foothills of the Pyrenees. In 2007, Alain Menu for Chevrolet and Augusto Farfus for BMW were the race winners. But with the turbo diesel Seats dominating the season so far, would that change? After 2 wet practice sessions, the track was at least dry-ish for the beginning of a 45-minute qualifying session. Normally 30 minutes, it's extended on street circuits to allow drivers to have a chance to find their way through traffic. But the circuit was far from bone dry. Early indications had showed that there was a pretty level playing field in wet conditions. But would the power of the turbo diesel Seats again feature in the dry? Early on, a stark reminder of the dangers of the street circuit. 3 privateer BMWs nearly coming to grief together as Frank Sensler and Ibrahim Okiay tangled. James Thompson in the Honda, glancing blow in Virage Foch, one of the most demanding on the circuit. He was soon back into the pits. A car that had been 4th quickest in the wet sessions was looking like it wasn't even going to make the top dozen in the dry. Man who had no problems to worry about, though, other than the weight of his car with the success ballast, was Yvan Muller. He'd been stunning in wet qualifying in Valencia. Now in dry qualifying in Po, he was also on top of the timesheets early on. Dramas for Alain Menu. He'd clattered into the barriers and slapped the left-hand side of the Chevrolet. His qualification run was over. Well, Menu had taken pole and victory in race 1 in 2007 on the streets. He was not to repeat it here. And Augusto Farfus, well, he came close to repeating the barrel roll in qualifying when he was shooting for pole in 2007. In 2008, it was just a glancing blow with the barriers. And without the crash that happened in 2007, the pole that he had chased 12 months earlier was to become his. Farfus put together an astonishing lap in the dying seconds of qualifying to take pole away from Yvan Muller by 0.02 of a second. Muller had been the fastest man for almost all of the 45-minute session, but to the delight of the Schnitzer team, Farfus had snatched the pole away.
I got the first lap was even quicker, and then I found traffic just before turn 5, and here it's quite narrow to pass, and I lost the car. I hit the armco, and then it came straight on, and I said, well, qualifying is over. And then I just checked if the car was still straight. Fortunately it was, so then I just cooled down, pushed for the last lap, and it worked. So what else can say?
Fantastic effort by the young Brazilian to put his car on pole position, but ominously right behind him, 4 of the turbo diesel Seats before the next car, Rob Huff, the top Chevrolet of the weekend. Rolling start for race 1, and after wet practice and dryish qualifying, it was a hot and sunny Po Street circuit that greeted the drivers for the first race. Augusto Farfus, the pole man, alongside him, Yvan Muller, Jordi Genet, Gabriele Tarquini and Ricard Riedel Seats all bunched up behind as they got ready for the start. Farfus had judged the speed of the getaway perfectly, slotted in front of Yvan Muller. Looking back from Andy Prio, he had close company from behind as they all headed down to the tight second gear corner that ends the main straight. Sweeping through, it seemed that everybody had got through cleanly. Farfus already accelerating away up the hill, but in the background, Oscar Nog, the independent Seat driver, had run into the back of James Thompson's car and broken his suspension. Farfus led them up the hill, behind everybody jockeying for position. And then the big drama broke out. Alain Menu spun around as he got hit from behind, and the road in an instant would be blocked. Top 8 drivers had got through, everybody else was stuck in a monumental traffic jam. Augusto Farfus leading the field all the way round, but the red flags had to come out to clear the confusion. The race would be suspended, everybody starting again behind the safety car in the positions in which they'd qualified. Well, in the end, it was the car of the Italian Alex Zanardi getting into the back of Alain Menu, but he in turn had been hit from behind by Thiago Monteiro. He in turn says he was hit from behind by Felix Portiero. The cue ball was a long way behind the eventual accident as the RML Chevrolet boys watched it unfold in front of them. Menu into the back of Prio, and around he went, he too hit from behind. Pierre-Yves Courtal's front end of his Seat had been shattered, the radiator had lost all its fluid, and the independent driver was out before he'd even completed half a lap. Restarting behind the safety car would be a more straightforward way to funnel everybody safely around the street track. Again, Farfus with the task of keeping Yvan Muller behind him at the restart. Green flag time, and they're racing once more. With Muller in second place, Jordi Genet in third, and Gabriele Tarquini in fourth position. Ricard Riedel between the first 2 Chevrolets of Rob Huff and Nicola Larini. At this stage, Alain Menu just ahead of James Thompson's Honda out of the points, with Andy Prio clinging tenaciously to 8th position, and that's a battle that would rage throughout the race. Early on, Ricard Riedel in the Seat, sandwiched between the first 2 Chevrolets, having a look at Rob Huff's rear end, but not able to make an impression. down to the danger spot at the Lycée, still covered in sand from the clear-up operations of earlier on, and this time everybody got through safely. Race distance had been extended to 20 laps to take account of the safety car lap, and so the drivers were in for a warm afternoon's work around the tight, twisty and unforgiving street circuit. Battle for 8th place with Andy Priaulx in the first of the BMWs and Jörg Müller, the German colours on his car, right behind. Well, Müller wasn't alone in wanting to take 8th place. Alain Menu in 10th was also queuing up behind Priaulx in a long train of cars from Gabriele Tarquini in 4th down to about 15th position. Tarquini, in the heaviest car in the field, had Rob Huff snapping at his heels all the way through the race and managed to keep him at bay. But the gap to the 3 in front was growing. Huff was getting impatient. As the race wore on, it was clear that Huff had a faster car. But could he pass? Battle for the independence lead. Local driver Laurent Cazenave standing in the Vika Sport BMW. His girlfriend with everything crossed. Olivier Tielemans not fit to race this weekend, so Cazenave got the opportunity on his home track. Sergio Hernandez moving up swiftly, getting in front of Franz Engsler up into 3rd in the independence category. But for the other BMW drivers, it was a war of attrition. Priaulx clinging on to 8th position and Jörg Müller desperately trying to unsettle him. 4th place, Gabriele Tarquini in the Seat, just ahead of Rob Huff. Independent battle continuing. Sergio Hernandez absolutely flying, going by teammate Stefano D'Aste, the points leader in the independence category, to pick up 2nd spot. Then he was on the heels of Cazenave. Cazenave, new to the World Touring Car Championship, new to the BMW, new to the Vika Sport team, and hanging on tenaciously to the lead. The local man had the advantage of having raced at Pau many times, and he was determined to use all of that advantage. Andy Priaulx and the rest of them, they've only been here once, but that was enough. And for Augusto Farfus, a comfortable race lead was building by the lap. By lap 17, he was 16 seconds ahead of the 2nd place man. And with no pressure from behind, Yvan Müller and Jordi Genet were happy to let him go. The big queue of cars behind Gabriele Tarquini was showing no sign of settling down. Huff and Rydell 5th and 6th, but behind them, Priaulx still stuck with 8th position, 1 point, and the chance to start race 2 on pole, solid gold. If you can't be where Augusto Farfus was out front, then you want to be in 8th place to give you the chance to win race 2. Last lap of the race, and Farfus showing no signs of slowing down. Dominating performance, snatched pole from under the nose of Yvan Müller. Last lap move 2 gave 4th place to Rob Huff. Gabriele Tarquini drifting wide in the 2nd corner, Huff slotting up the inside as he tried to do half a dozen times on the previous laps. But the checkered flag, and Augusto Farfus had an appointment with it, claiming his first win of the season and the first for BMW. Race 7 saw our 7th different race winner in 2008. And behind, the battle for the podium hotted up, Yvan Müller being chased to the line by Jordi Genet, but 2nd place was never really in that much doubt. Seat 2 claiming 2nd and 3rd ahead of Rob Huff, then Tarquini and Rydell both scoring in 5th and 6th. And that means that the top 4 in the championship were again all in the points for Seat. Crushing performance by Augusto Farfus. The question might be asked later why BMW didn't slow him down a little. His wife very happy with that result, and so was the man himself.
Very good.
Farfus having a great race weekend in 2007 and starting 2008. Race 2 of the World Touring Car Championship at Pau on the streets in France, and after a bright and sunny first race, an absolute deluge before the start of race 2. Gamble on slicks? I don't think so. Andy Priaulx on pole position in the BMW could hardly have wished for a better starting place. With the visibility bound to be reduced in the heavy rain, it was an ideal place for the world champion to try and claim his first win of the season. Well, because of the streaming wet weather conditions, they started the race in line astern behind the safety car. And it was 3 full wet splashing laps before they were released to go racing. 21 laps now, the race distance, and Prio leading from Nicola Larini, who finished in 7th place in race 1. Ricard Rydell in 3rd spot, and just behind him, Gabrielita Arquini. The top 8 positions from race 1 were reversed, so race 1 winner Augusto Farfus went through in 8th place. Conditions could hardly have been any worse. The torrential cloudburst had left rivers of water running across the track and big puddles right on the edge of the circuit, just where the drivers were hoping to find some grip. Cars slipping and sliding all over the place. Alex Zanardi battling with James Thompson, losing that one, but hanging on to the car. And look at the water as they climb up from the Virage Lycée up alongside Parc Beaumont, pouring down through the gutters, all over the road. And for race leader Andy Prio, he would be the first man to find changing conditions. He was most likely to be caught out, even though he was the one out front with the best of the visibility. 8th place man in the first race, Augusto Farfus, battling to hang on in the points as Jörg Müller struggled. Müller was not having a good weekend. Farfus going by Jordi Genet as the Spaniard suddenly slowed. It looked as though there'd been contact, and he was to come into the pits with a puncture. Laurent Cazenave, the Independent Trophy winner in the first race, dropped down the order, got tagged by Franz Enxler. Ibrahim Okier outbraking himself, and Genet coming into the pits for fresh rubber. This was not a change to slicks, this was a change to a tyre that had some air in it. Nicola Larini, fastest at this stage, trying to close down Andy Prio. The battle for the fastest man on the course had been between Prio, Larini and Rydell. All three setting faster and faster laps as they rushed away from the opposition. Team boss Bart Mampai watching the screens intently as James Thompson took up the battle with Jörg Müller. Thompson trying to get himself up into the points. The Honda yet to score, and that pass on Müller put him up into 9th place, warmly applauded by the N Technology team, with boss Mauro Sips watching on. It would be the first point that they would score for Honda if he could get it. Rydell, fastest man on the track, closing down Nicola Larini and Andy Prio. Prio with the fastest race lap, set early on. But as the conditions changed and the rain started to lift a little, that would change too. Sergio Hernandez losing the lead in the independence category to teammate Stefano D'Aste as Alain Menu got caught up by Foch. Too much curb on the way in, and when he wanted to be turning right, the wheels were still in the air. Result, into the wall. Heavily damaged car, Menu trying to crawl it back to the pit, and you saw how close James Thompson got behind him. Further back, Alex Zanardi and Jörg Müller completing a pas de deux as Tom Coronel closed in behind on their battle for 10th place. Müller saw Zanardi coming in hot and out of control. And look at Alex. Don't forget, he's driving with just hand controls. Floors the throttle and away he goes. Out front, the race leader was in traffic. Jordi Genet staying well out of the way. Now he was back on track and a lap down. Power sliding out of the corner. Prio was feeling the pressure from Larini. The Italian in the Chevrolet was right on his tail. Further back with Jörg Müller, struggling to stay even in the top dozen. Jörg catching himself out on a puddle of water, drifting out wide. Tom Coronel going by him. Müller trying to fight back. Coronel putting his car firmly in the middle of the road. 2/3 of the way through the race, still streaming wet conditions. Coronel caught out under Pont Oscar, and back up into the 9th went Jörg Müller. Coronel under pressure then from Thiago Montero, who had to take to the pavement. Jörg Müller went off even further on the next lap, and this time both the Seats would go by him. There was to be no coming back for the German. His mirrors were now full of another BMW driver, Alex Zanardi, as Thiago Monteiro tried to get by Coronel in the hope of maybe picking up a point late in the race. Towards the closing stages, Andy Priaulx was pulling away from Nicola Larini. Larini's pace had dropped noticeably, and the fastest man on the racetrack was Ricard Rydell in third. He'd closed right onto the tail of the Chevrolet. He didn't know it, but Larini was in trouble with the brakes, and he was clinging desperately to second place in the final couple of laps. As Priaulx caught more back marker traffic, Larini was looking for his season's best result. As with Ivan Muller in race one, he realised early on that he was not going to be able to match the pace of the BMW, but he was certainly not going to let the Seat through if he had anything to do with it. There's not a lot of good feeling between Rydell and Larini after Rydell stole victory from him in Anderstorp last year as a guest driver for the Chevrolet. And Larini would do anything he could to hang on to that second place, particularly given who was behind him. Race conditions just as filthy at the end as they had been at the beginning. Nerves in the Mallet camp. Could they hang on to second? The win seemed to be evading them. Last lap for Andy Priaulx, safely through Foch, the last major obstacle before the checkered flag. Behind him, Larini, using all of his years of experience, hanging on in front of Ricard Rydell under great pressure. And Rydell had lost his chance. Larini was not going to be passed now. From the chicane down to the checkered flag, it's foot to the floor all the way. And as Andy Priaulx took the checkered flag, race win number 8 had yet another different winner. Priaulx's first win of the season in an 11-point weekend. Larini took second from Rydell in third, and some way back, Gabriele Tarquini in fourth place. Father Graham and wife Jo Priaulx thrilled with that, and Andy himself, who started the weekend under a cloud, felt much better by the end of it, despite the rain. And a little bit of a rapprochement from Ricard Rydell, apologising by congratulating Nicola Larini on his second position. But the happiest man, no question. Well, another podium for Ricard Rydell sees him still lying in third place in the championship, but now just one behind Ivan Muller. Andy Priaulx, for the first time, breaks Seat's domination of the top 4 as he leapfrogs Jordi Genet, courtesy of that 11-point weekend. And Farfus is on the board, but 29 points off the championship lead. Manufacturers still favoured Seat. Chevrolet, though, dropped back down to third place. BMW sneak in front of them by 4 points up into second. And a happy Independence winner, Stefano D'Asta, extends his advantage over teammate Sergio Hernandez to 12 points. Pierre-Yves Courtals scores just in race 2. So that's the story then from Poe. Next time out, Bruno in the check.
Start right here for Eric Darnell in the lead.
For several guys, you got Ron Hornaday lurking back there in fourth. Johnny Benson doesn't care what happened at Milwaukee last year. He wants to win this race today.
3 laps of racing to go. Green flag back in the air. Eric Darnell, a great restart. Just in front of Scott Speed. Johnny Benson lays back. He's got Ron Hornaday all over his back bumper.
Look at Hornaday move to the inside of Johnny. He's going to hold that thing down. He had to pedal a little bit. Johnny may have the momentum on the high side. Here comes Colin Brown looking at the high side of Johnny Benson.
Trying to take the position away from Ron Hornaday. They're side by side down the backstretch.
Here they go, 3-4 wide down the backstretch.
You see Tom Bodine in the center of your screen and Kyle Busch both on fresh tires driving up beside the 46 of Regan Smith.
Look at Johnny go on the outside of the 22 of Scott Speed.
Those two guys with fresh tires are not that far back from our race leader, Eric Darnell, still trying to hold them off.
Tom Bodine is coming, boys.
Hey, guys, how about that 10 truck of
Brendan Gaughan
up to the 4th spot already.
And closing in on Johnny Benson. When he gets to turn 1, he'll try to go to the outside of Benson. Is there going to be room for Brendan to look up there?
We're inside of 2 laps to go. It looks as though Ron Hornaday backing off now as he's got to catch that truck. Here comes Todd Bodine.
And those 4 new tires right there.
He's on it.
High flag next time. Ron Hornaday battles back on the outside.
Ron Hornaday decided, hey, wait a minute.
Todd makes easy work of him when they get to turn 3. He's only got 6 trucks ahead of him. 5 now.
Look at that run through the center of the corner. There's Colin Brown right there.
Again,
Colin's in the
Darnell
5th spot.
has 2 truck length lead over Johnny Benson. He's taken over second.
Benson's gaining on him. Ty Bodine makes another move on the inside of the 6 truck.
Final lap, inside of 2 miles to go. We're riding along with Colin Brown.
Oh, we got a spin.
Problems in turn number 1.
No
Sliding
caution.
is Ron Hornaday.
No caution. These guys are racing back. No caution.
Ron Hornaday off the racetrack. The field gets through 1 and 2. They stay green. Eric Darnell tries to hold off Johnny Benson. Here he comes looking to the bottom of the racetrack.
Johnny goes right down to the bottom.
What a great job by Eric Darnell. Here comes Ty Bodine.
Johnny Benson looking to the inside. It's door to door as they come to the start-finish line. Johnny Benson trying to get it. He's going to go across the start-finish line. They were almost identical across the start-finish line. We still haven't seen as they have updated the scores.
We couldn't tell. We're right on the start-finish line, and we could not tell who won the race.
They're going to have to go to the camera. They're saying it was that close to find out who won this race. Johnny Benson and Eric Darnell were side by side when they went across the start-finish line.
Let's see what we have on our camera right here. There comes Johnny Benson. He's on the inside right against the gravel.
And Johnny Benson right now has the edge.
But not for long. Here comes Darnell with the momentum on the high side, getting that side draft to the line.
Closing in on the start-finish line. It is almost a dead heat.
I think it's Eric Darnell by
I don't know if
inches.
Johnny Benson might not get the nod here. This right here may be the closest finish ever in the history of the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series.
Thanks a lot, guys. You guys are awesome. Good job.
They're claiming Eric Darnell gets the win. It's win number 2 for Darnell. Adam Alexander.
Guy that knows all too well about what it's like to win in Michigan. The truck owner, Jack Roush. You had to wait a while, but Jack, congratulations. What a finish.
Well, I appreciate that. You know, Eric was really good today. I was out doing some other things and missed the beginning of the race. I don't know exactly how it ended, but he was really motivated, and he deserved this, I'm sure.
When you see the tape, you won't believe it. Jack Roush going to victory lane for the 4th time in his Truck Series career here at Michigan.
You ever seen a man that deserved to win? It was Eric Darnell. Perfect restart. He kept him off of him for a lap or 2. Johnny Benson charged on him at the end. Johnny was looking high on Eric when they got to turn 1, so Eric moved high in 3 and 4 to block his line. Johnny said, I'm going low. Man, that was a great race.
And again, this all culminated back behind them. The 33 of Ron Hornaday got knocked in the back.
Looked like the 51 of
Yep,
Kyle Busch
Kyle
may
Busch
have made
got
contact.
That turned him around. Now the field was able to go through there, so we stayed green, and that enabled these 2 trucks to race to the start-finish line.
I love NASCAR in this position.
There's another view right here. Watch the 51 truck right behind the 33 of Ron Hornaday.
NASCAR set on that caution flag. They knew Ron had spun down out of the way, and
on your bumper.
Definite contact right there.
He was trying to save it.
that's your point leader spinning around down there in turn 2, Rick.
Sure enough, he got turned around. When he finally got it going again, he ended up 23rd unofficially on the scoring.
And the points up front were tight.
Take a look at the way this one finished. Johnny Benson's going to go all the way down to the apron. Eric Darnell follows him down there to get that side draft, and then almost a dead heat at the line.
Johnny Benson got away from Eric as fast as he could, but Eric came and found him.
What a finish. What a finish.
Unbelievable how close that was. And the closest finish.
The 3 wide
yeah,
third, by the way. They're still trying to figure out who finished third, too.
The closest finish ever in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series is 1/1000th of a second. We may have been under that here today.
So here we are at Mallala Raceway. It is round 4 of the Kumho Tyres Australian F3 Championship, race number 1. Great field. This series is really on a mission this year. Richie Crowell, what a big year ahead.
Yep, and Leanne Tander riding a wave of form at the moment. Pole position for race 1. We go back to the national class competitors. Chris Gilmore, Lee Farrell, James Winslow, championship leader in P11. Absolutely struggled in wet qualifying yesterday as we get set for a start at Mallala. We are underway. McFadden slow away in the back of the field. Tander away well, side by side with Carrera down to turn 1, but takes the lead, and Leanne Tander will lead them through.
Look at the size of this field and look at the depth of talent. This is really, I think, the year that Formula 3 has desperately needed to have. So much talent, so many good cars, and look at the lady standing tall at the top.
Nathan Carrera in second. That's Carl Reindler in third, the 2004 Australian Formula 3 champion. He's running in a national class car. It's a generation behind the new 07 spec chassis that are running out in front, but he was absolutely astonishing in wet conditions in qualifying. Put the thing third on the grid right amongst the championship class cars. Shows the calibre of driver that he really is. He's running third, but Nathan Carrera right up behind Leanne Tander for second.
Good racing here at Mallala Motorsports Park as they work their way through the S's. It's a very fast circuit, it's flowing, and it's very hard on the brakes as well. In places like this, Leanne Tander under siege now.
Remember back 12 months, Wade, in that amazing race we called where Leanne got punted off or was involved in an incident on the opening lap, went back to 9th place on a drying racetrack, charged her way through to second. A race won by James Winslow. She loves this place, hasn't won a race here. Won for the first time at Oran Park in round 3 of the championship and particularly enjoyed that. Looking to do the same here at Mallala.
Do you know who drives faster than Leanne Tander? That's Leanne Tander when she's cranky. And I think that probably helps. When she gets her dander up, she drives very quickly indeed. She's an emotional character. She wears her heart on her sleeve, and nobody's tougher on Leanne than Leanne is herself. She's certainly got some pressure here at one of the fastest corners in motor racing.
Nathan Carrera's been a great story too for Team BRM, the West Australian driver. Spent a season and a bit over in Europe last year racing in the Formula Renault Euro Cup and British Formula Renault Championships, and those kind of series really teach Costera! Stewie Costera spins at the Northern Hairpin and he's bogged in the middle of the racetrack. It's wet out there. Oh, Ash Samani's off as well.
Wow, they're going to have to be a little bit careful here, because, or don't, just gas it like Samani did. Good work, he's back online. Not sure whether Stewie's going to have the same fate. No fear there. Blade licking out the side. Just overcooked it coming off the corner and bagged up the Kumos too. And Stewie realising no point burying myself a hole here.
Got caught up behind Nick Percat there running in the Walkinshaw performance car from Team BRM and just I think got checked up coming out of the corner and around he went. He's talking about Nathan Carrera, great young driver from Perth and the brother of 2005 Australian Formula 3 champion Aaron Carrera, who's doing great things in Carrera Cup racing at the moment. So a bit of a family dynasty emerging there, but he's come back to Australia to further his career this season and won the very first race of the championship for Team BRM back at Eastern Creek in February as they passed Stewie Costera's stranded car out in the Sodden outfield. He's got nowhere to go there. Stewie's going to have to watch the rest of this race from inside his car.
Carrera too has been very successful back home, having scored major success over in WA at the Barbagallo round where he was ultra competitive. It's great to have Nick Percat driving in this championship. That was a bit of a last minute decision to move into the Team BRM ranks and work with them. The driver normally driving, of course, with Sonic Motor Racing Services in Formula Ford competition. As you said, with Walkinshaw Performance. Interesting, you should be following Leanne Tander a couple of cars back. Very close relationship forged with Garth Tander over a couple of years.
Yep, and Nick's done a great job since jumping into an F3 car. Made his debut at Oran Park 3 weeks ago and was very, very quick from the outset. Didn't take long to get on the money at what is a very challenging racetrack as we take a look at the order. Wade Tander from Karate. Ryan leads national class and amazingly is still third outright. Percat McFadden has recovered to fifth ahead of Matt Sophie, Chris Gilmore and Justin Tate.
Nick Percat discussed by many as one of the complete competitors, a man who was very much au fait with racing geometry and all of the technical side of the sport, of course very much involved in the HSV racing side of things together with the Walkinshaw Performance, and a lot of people rate him very highly as not only a smart driver but certainly a tactician as well.
So Carrera continues to chip away at Leanne Tander. The gap fairly consistent now at about 1 second. They're having a pretty good race for the lead, driving as hard as they can. This is a green racetrack. A lot of rain throughout the weekend here at Mallala has made this track pretty slick, and all the rubber that gets laid down when it's dry just gets washed away when it starts to rain. So really starting from scratch, and the qualifying session for this race, qualifying one, held in very, very wet conditions, and Tander was pretty impressive in that, as was Carl Reindler, who we can see going through the kink now in third. Then we go back to Percat, who's fourth. Then a great battle. Neil McFadden, the 2004 Gold Star champion, and the Total Developments #2 driver, Matthew Sophie, the only Honda-powered car in the championship class there.
Great looking car
I was just about to say it.
Sophie, really a rising star. I mean, there's so many of these great young drivers in this category, but Sophie certainly over the last couple of seasons has been honing his talent and getting faster and faster. You can see him on the right of your screen just coming in behind the 27 car just then. Something about this category has stepped up a notch, Richard. What do you put that down to?
I think the introduction of the new cars from Europe, Wade, up to 10 of them have been imported into the country, and all the cars that were in Australia for the championship class last year are now funneled back to national class and running very competitively in that. And it's not just the depth at the front of the field that stepped up, it's the depth right through the midfield in the Formula 3 national class and trophy classes as well. So different entry points to get into F3 racing at different levels of affordability, and I think the depth through the field has really taken a step forward.
Nathan Karate making as best he can some sort of inroads, but there's no chink in the armour at the moment for Leanne Tander. So we see the Parklands number 5 car closing in a bit there, but gee, look at Leanne back on the hammer out of the corner, looking very stout today.
Nathan Karate has a little bit of pressure riding on him this season driving for Team BRM. They've had a knack of winning championships on even years. They won in 2002, and they won in 2004 with Carl Reindler. They won in 2006 with the Bon Ben Klukas, who took all before him. This year, it's up to Nathan Karate to fly the flag for Team BRM.
Oh, no pressure, Rich.
None at all. No.
Just load the young fella up with a bit of responsibility. He'll be right. Very difficult corner, this one. It sweeps wide coming out of the left-hander here. A lot of people get over the ripple strip.
Oh, Samadhi off again up the northern hairpin.
Same spot.
Yep, this time he's gone further, though. And I think that may be in a position to bring the safety car out, because he has gone a long way in a pretty precarious position. And true to form, there is the safety car.
Oh, man, just like the live album with the same name, there's no secret for Samadhi working his way off the course there. Just a big lock-up, and away he went.
Massive flat spots on those front Kumos.
Throwing copper.
Yeah, made his debut at Oran Park Raceway, Ash, a Porsche racer, and got into one of these cars and jumped out with a massive grin on his face and said, I cannot believe these race cars. I do not believe how good they are. And he is looking to step up into the championship class later this season. We're back underway though, and Tander, a very good restart on cooler tyres and pulling away now from Nathan Karate. Carl Reindler sits third, Nick Percat is fourth, McFadden fifth, but he's coming under all sorts of pressure from Matt Sophie. The championship leader in the national class, Chris Gilmore, is 7th, and Justin Tate, 17 years of age from Victoria, last year's Porsche 944 Challenge winner, in his first drive for Piccolo Scuderia, is 8th outright and 3rd in national class.
Whoa,
it's on, though.
It's a NASCAR caution that we've basically had here. It's bunched everybody up, and now look at the carve up for 3rd place. Cars all over it. Look out, it's very willing indeed under brakes. This is the Walkinshaw Performance car. Perkett desperate to get into the top 3.
Oh, he's working hard, isn't he, on the back of Carl Reindler's number 7 car from Artec Motorsport Services. Just a few laps to go now at Mallala Raceway. The battle for 3rd, 4th, 5th place. Chris Gilmore just sitting in there as well. If they come to blows, Chriso could find himself on the outright podium, but there are a bunch of very experienced drivers dicing it out for 3rd place, headed up by the 2004 champ Carl Reindler. 1 lap to go, Wade.
Yeah, this is desperation station now for Perkett. Longing look up the inside, but the corner was played beautifully.
Where he is, Percat will get 3rd place points in the championship class because Carl Reindler runs in a national class car, the 2004 spec car. I tell you what, Carl got a great run out of turn 3. Percat goes heavily defensive now. McFadden trying to work his way past. You can't keep a former Gold Star champion down, and Neil is charging forward in the Piccolo Scuderia car.
Checkered flag is not too far away. How about Leanne Tander? Really race hardened now. She's a legitimate contender. She was last year too, but gee, she looks tough this year.
Sophie round the outside, that's huge. He's made a couple of positions. No driver has won twice this year until now though, Wade. Leanne Tander wins at Mallala.
And what a drive to take the win to a very competitive race 1 here at Mallala. You had to work for your money then, Richard.
Absolutely right. Nathan Karate finishes 2nd, Carl Reindler 3rd, Percat 4th, Matt Sophie gets to 5th. Great drive, Neil McFadden 6th place, Gilmore was 7th, and just...
So it's race number 2 here at Mallala Motorsports Park. It's round 4, the Kumo Tyres Australian F3 Championship, and well, can she back it up? She was certainly impressive earlier, Leanne Tander. Let's see what she can come up with then. Neil McFadden and Nathan Karate, though, these guys got the pointy end.
Yeah, they go from the front row. James Winslow again from 9th. He's just having a terrible weekend. Set for a start in race 2. Watch for McFadden from pole. He didn't make good starts at Oran Park, and no better this time round either. Whole shot from the second row for Tander. She's got away well.
Oh my goodness, what happened back then?
Oh, it was close. That's what it was. And McFadden off the racetrack. Briefly, Percat goes to the outside. What a baptism of fire for young Nick Percat in just his second Formula 3 round. But Nathan Carretti for the hometown team leads them down to the southern hairpin by a good 5 car lengths. And that is a very, very handy lead.
Like they say, slow in, fast out. You saw him with a totally different line to everyone else through that sweeping right-hander just then. I saw debris flying in the air at the back of the pack then. Someone had to make some contact, I think, Richard.
Probably a front, actually, it was a front wing from Chris Gilmore's car. Just saw it as McFadden locks them up into turn 5. Gee, he's got to work on his starts. He was slow away, stalled at the grid at Oran Park and slow away from pole in race 2, and it cost him race wins there. And just a disappointingly slow start for the Gold Star champ of 2004 here in race 2, and that has allowed Nathan Carretti to slot himself into the lead, and that is where he wants to be. McFadden second, Percat third, with flames belching from the back of the Mercedes-Benz powered Walkinshaw performance car. Leanne Tander in 4th place in the Tander Sport Mallala.
You have to be very, very definite with your passing manoeuvres at this place. It's not an overly wide circuit. Most of the passing is done under brakes coming into corners. Leanne is going to have to work very hard indeed here. The McFadden car, very much like the Chris Gilmore car, when you look at a quick flash and a quick glimpse of it, but McFadden up in that second spot and locked in.
Yeah, guess what brand of road car the Piccola Scuderia outfit dealing for their road car business? It'd have to be Ferrari when you've got a race car painted that red.
I would have thought that too. They're certainly passionate about it. This is such a good circuit for these cars too. Limited room to move around, plenty of acceleration and some really tight twisty bits that make you work the car.
And it's almost disappointing it's been wet this weekend because the lack of rubber down on the racetrack, it means we're just going to struggle to go underneath the lap record, and we've been breaking lap record all around the country with these new cars, which are a couple of seconds a lap quicker than the outgoing model. Such as the advancement in the world of Formula 3. McFadden, what a great driver, man with so much success in open wheel competition, and has jumped back into Formula 3, back into the Gold Star this year to try and revitalise his career, which seemed to have stalled for a couple of years, and so far so good. He has arguably been the fastest person in the field.
Once again, that Sophie car in the pack, even from a much wider angle, really striking on the racetrack. McFadden is definitely starting to wear down Carretti. Nathan, a relative newcomer to this class, certainly, and very famous surname, not like Brett Holdsworth, probably faces the same similar path that your older brother. Oh, talk about the mockers.
Just as you give him a rap, he's waving.
Whoa! Oh. Let's hope it does stand out in the racetrack.
Matt Sophie spins at turn 3. Bit of a bogey corner for the Sydney sider. Spun down there last year as well, but much happier with the pace of his Transwest Racing car from Rolt Australia this weekend, making good forward progress. The battle for the lead continues though. Neil McFadden chipping away with Nathan Carretti out in front.
Well, this is a great battle, isn't it? A couple of young guns really going at it. You just saw Leanne Tander. I thought she was making a bit more ground earlier, but she may have dropped away a little bit. Percat back there in that 4th position.
Well, actually, Tander's got past Nick Percat. She was running 4th just a lap ago, so unseen, she has passed Percat and is now homing in on the back of Neil McFadden. So Leanne's starting to make forward progress. This car may be set up to come on strong towards the end of this motor race as we get towards half distance.
Winding up this second race of the weekend, a grueling affair, a bit spread out towards the back of the field, but up front it is all an arm wrestle. They sweep through the king just here. That's where Leanne makes up a bit of ground. Percat dropped back just a little bit. The BRM team, certainly one of the South Australian stalwarts of the category.
Yeah, 3-time Australian Formula 3 champions, and they won the Gold Star in 06, the year they won with Ben Klukas, and they were so thrilled to do that. Happy with their lineup this season with Nathan Carretti, Nick Percat doing a couple of rounds. They've got John Magro driving the Rockstar energy drink entry this weekend as well. Young Queensland driver from far north Queensland. He's a mango farmer, decided to jump into a Formula 3 car and doing a pretty good job on debut. Carretti from McFadden and Tander, your top 3 with Percat in 4th. Reinler continues to lead the Formula 3 national class weight, the race within a race, but Chris Gilmore, sans a front wing, still doing a pretty good job in this one, just trying to score points, and at Oran Park he took a massive lead in the F3 national class, thanks to a pretty tough weekend by the Irish driver Lee Farrell.
It's a lonely ride around this circuit. It's wide open to big spaces, certainly between a couple of these cars at the moment, but speed around here. You can't afford to take one lapse in concentration, particularly here when you're so hard on the brakes. Look at Leanne winding up the ground between herself and McFadden just then. This is a good little battle going on.
Yeah, down in the F3 national class. Whoa, Justin Tate very sideways. And one car off the racetrack. I think that's Andrew Mill by the looks of it. It is the trophy class entry from Queensland, the Property Solutions Group entry. Justin Tate pretty sideways there up behind Ash Samadi in the Astudi Motorsport car. Justin's a great young story, 17 years of age, made his F3 debut at the start of this year and has just really taken the series by storm. Stepped up to the national class. This is his first run with the Piccola Scuderia team. So far, so good for him. He is certainly a champion of the future.
Starting to get late in the day here too. Some long shadows being cast as we work our way through this second race of the fourth round of the Kumho Tyres Australian F3 Championship. And this series really is going big places this year. A lot of good cars and an enormous amount of talent on the ground. Things looking very much up for the F3s.
Is it just me, or is car 42 looking ominously close to the 27 car of Neil McFadden as they run to turn one? I think Tander's starting to get racy now, and she came into this round 27 points behind in the championship after a tough start to the season. Had a big crash at Clipsal that was completely not her doing, caught up in someone else's accident. Won at Oran Park, which was satisfying for her. Won the first race here this morning. And now she said to me before this race, I've now won at 2 tracks where I hadn't won at before, and 2 of the last 4 rounds of the championship are at Phillip Island, which is where I won twice last season. Looking ominous now, she goes to the inside of Neil McFadden into turn 5. McFadden has no answer. The Tander Sport car goes to second.
What a battle this is, really raging. She was back as far as 4th at one point. Certainly got a bit of a run going. This is where you have to be so forceful with your car. You have to know that you've got the room, and you really have to intimidate your rival. She did a nice clean pass there. McFadden knew, no point contesting it. I'll take another shot and live to fight another day.
You really can't bang wheels in these cars, as you know, Wade, with open wheelers. You bang wheels, you tend to go skywards in a hurry. Karate leads with 1 lap to go ahead of Leanne Tander. McFadden 3rd. Good championship points for him. Percat 4th. Winslow has moved to 5th. That is crucial. Absolutely all at sea in qualifying. Could not get that car to work properly. He had a difficult first race this morning, but he's starting to show some good pace now in race 2, and he's come through to 5th place in the Astudi Motorsport number 11 car. Our championship leader coming into this round, James.
Probably wishes that the weekend could start right about now rather than when it did, but that's the joys and the sorrow of motorsport, certainly. We get towards the final couple of corners in this circuit. This is a big win for Nathan Grady's confidence.
Oh, absolutely right. He won at the very first round, the first race of the 2008 season in difficult conditions at Eastern Creek at A1 GP. He's been frustrated since then. He said, I've been probably the fastest car out there, but haven't been able to break through. Well, all that changes now at Mallala as he begins the final lap at Mallala. 1 to go for Karate. If he can bring this home, Wade, it will be a big win indeed.
Confidence boosting for a number of reasons, but certainly just gives the young fella a little bit more self-belief. You know what, I can win, and I can go out there and do it again. And it's going to be a very, very important win for the team as well.
And so too for Neil McFadden, running 3rd. He'll be disappointed with this result because he started on pole and could have been a whole lot better, but given the slow start he had and the race pace shown by Leanne Tander, 3rd will be a solid result and will keep him in the championship hunt. And if they finish this way, the top 4 cars in the championship will be covered by something like 8 points. So it's going to be awesomely close heading into the first fight at Phillip Island in a few weeks' time, and absolutely cannot wait for that one. But not far to go now for the number 5 car, and he is coming round to the final few corners with what looks to be a pretty emphatic victory.
Well done to the young man. If he can just hold on to it, a little bit of smoke just then, probably a little bit of a nervous lock-up as he can be up on the lap car. This is the last thing he needs, but of course those mirrors tell him all he needs to know. Track is clear. Let's wrap this thing up. Well done, Nathan Karate.
Great drive from Leanne Tander, 4th to 2nd in that one, and she moves right back into championship contention. Neil McFadden 3rd, great job for Percat to finish 4th. Winslow was 5th, Carl Reindler won the national class with 6th, and of Stuart closer than ever before at the top of the Kumho Tyres Australian Formula 3 Championship. 8 points covering 4 drivers, with Karate moving into the lead. Chris Gilmore maintains his dominating position in the national class ahead of Lee Farrell and Carl Reindler. And Andrew Mill extends his margin in the Formula 3 Mallala Raceway. We're getting set for the opening round of the 2008 Carrick Sport Sedan National Series, and this is race 2 of the weekend, but going for the $5,000 Clem Smith Cup. I'm joined in commentary by Jeff Boyd and Luke Youlden from pole, but right at the back of the grid, Tony Ricciardello, the reigning champion.
Yeah, certainly has. Ricciardello had big problems in practice, so did Hossack. Watch them come through. This is going to be a tremendous race. The Clem Smith Cup. Love Sport Sedan racing. We're going to go racing now. Luke Youlden out in front with Bailey on the inside. Right behind him is the little Mazda, and then the Mustang, the Trans Am Mustang, tucked right in behind him of Crompton.
The fastest cars in Australia with a roof on track at Mallala Raceway as they fire down towards turn 3. Bailey comfortable in second. A challenge on for third. Phil Crompton working over the Mazda there of Trent Young. But Young holds the position into third. But this Mustang still wheel spinning its way out on a greasy circuit. Rain this morning, Jeff, has made this track pretty slick for this 13-lap affair here at Mallala Raceway.
Certainly does, and the trucks were out just before. Oh, problems there for the Mazda of Banks. He's pulled out, and I can't see Ricciardello coming through either, so maybe some sort of problem on that first lap for Ricciardello. He's had a shocking weekend. Broke the rear suspension in qualifying, then just didn't didn't get there on race 1, and now he's out in race 2. But we'll just have to keep an eye on him, see whether he's coming through. Bailey's having a good weekend with Young in the Mazda, but look at the distance Luke Youlden's put on Bailey already in that beautiful New Zealand Mustang.
Great young driver, of course, almost a veteran now of Bathurst 1000 starts and V8 supercar racing. He's won plenty of races, but he's jumped aboard this car and had a very successful summer over in New Zealand and has brought it across to Australia with Bernie Gillen this season. Wow, look at the damage to the front of Trent Young's Mazda down into the southern hairpin. He's got some serious bodywork flapping around on that car.
Yeah, I don't know whether that'll help him in the corners or hinder him, but at this stage, the Sonata Lounges Mustang way out in front at the moment. That piece is starting to flap even more on Trent Young's. This is a turbocharged Mazda rotary powered car, whereas the Trans Am out in front, of course, is the V8. But he's putting a big gap on Kerry Bailey in the beautiful 300 ZX, which he's not even inside at the moment. There he is now. So Kerry Bailey next, and then there's the piece gone off the Mazda. So no, it's not going to hurt the car at all. It's just the rear section of the mudguard, and that won't hurt this little car at all. Doing a good job out in third place. But here's Hossack. He's coming up on Crompton now, the Mustang of Crompton, the Trans Am Mustang, and looking for a move now on him. Hossack had to start from the back of the grid with electrical problems all Saturday and didn't get out till this particular race.
And this Audi, which made its debut last season briefly at the Clem Smith Cup round, a lot of development in the off-season and has slowly progressed and is a very, very fast race car, and with Darren Hossack behind the wheel, should have a very successful season. He was putting the pressure on Crompton. Luke Youlden leads the way in the Clem Smith Cup race for the Carrick Sport Sedans. Kerry Bailey second, Trent Young is third, Crompton, Hossack, Sinisi, Daniel Tomasi, who's had an up-and-down weekend, is seventh, and in 8th place will be McLaughlin, I think, in the Commodore.
Yeah, McLaughlin done a diff yesterday, and thanks to people in Adelaide, we managed to get a diff for his car, get back out there in race 2. But Tomasi's another one that's coming from the back of the grid. Remember, Tomasi didn't qualify yesterday in the second session or race 1. He went back to Melbourne for a wedding and then flew back this morning for race 2. Fantastic effort with the Sonata Lounges out in front, and here's Kerry Bailey still trying to catch up Luke Youlden. I don't think he will. He's dropping back even more with Trent Young putting pressure on it. The Mustang now starting to lap some of the slower cars, but this car's absolutely flying.
And in the background of that shot before, you saw Darren Hossack closing in on Trent Young in the RX-7 Mazda, and he will be looming pretty quickly there. I tell you what, Jeff, if the future of sports sedan racing in Australia involves cars like Luke Youlden's car, which I believe, I read a report from a New Zealand website where it raced over summer, has 730 brake horsepower. It's just utterly remarkable to watch, and I've never seen a car at this racetrack quicker point to point on that first start-finish straight. Whoa, uses all of the curb there. Darren Hossack looking to make a move on Young. But as I was saying, if these cars, like this one of Darren Hossack, like Luke Gilden's, are the future of sports sedan racing in Australia, it's looking pretty strong because they just seem to be getting more and more spectacular to watch.
Yeah, it certainly is, and there's another New Zealand car out here. A lot of people will know Bernie Gillen as Hossack has a look up the inside of Trent Young, gets through on Trent Young and goes up another position. This should put him up into about third position at the moment, right behind Kerry Bailey, and that's not a bad effort from the back of the grid. As I was saying, we've got another New Zealand car here, just a replay of Hossack going up the inside. This car looks beautiful under brakes, as you can see, straight up the inside. Trent Young gave him plenty of room, knew that he was a quicker car coming through, and just kept to the outside, and here comes Hossack. But I'll go again with this New Zealand car. Bernie Gillen's got a Jaguar out here, a beautiful car. Couldn't make it this weekend for business commitments over in New Zealand, but the car is here, and we've got another couple of Trans Am cars being bought over Christmas. Dean Cam has got one, had gearbox problems and couldn't run this particular weekend, but will be at Phillip Island. So yes, the class is looking absolutely brilliant, and look, you can't look at a better car than this Mustang. It's absolutely beautiful.
It is the most amazing thing, and it's got such a deep baritone sort of note as it thunders past at warp speed. It's quite remarkable. Here comes Darren Hossack now on Kerry Bailey, both very experienced drivers, but Bailey's been in sports sedans for some time. He will be up to the challenge to Darren Hossack, but at this stage of the motor race, you'd say that Hossack has the faster car in the John Goulet-owned Audi Spares A4, and modelled on the DTM style race car you see in Europe. This car, when they built it last year, gets a bit sideways through turn one, but this is another car. I was watching him on the wet in practice on Friday here at Mallala, and remarkable throttle control, but even in a straight line in fourth gear, he was struggling to keep this thing not from wheel spinning. Just remarkable.
Yeah, certainly is, and the car was completely built here. Even the guards and everything were done in clay over here, something that most people haven't done. But he's looking up the inside of Kerry Bailey now, dives down the inside out through the back straight. Bit of a kink in the back straight, little bit of smoke coming out the side of the car there, but Darren Hossack is a beautiful driver, and this car's still got a lot of development left in it, but I reckon by the time we get to Phillip Island, this car is going to be a contender for the front. As he dives up the inside, just a replay, but you can see how the car leans over, just about touches the ground with the spoiler at the front, and just a beautiful control car, and the car's just working lovely.
Still, the man that chased Ricciardello for the Sport Sedan Championship several seasons ago in a Saab, looking to do the same again this season. And we mentioned the Saabs, they're missing here. Mark Nelson obviously will hopefully be back later this season, and the champion of a few seasons ago looks to be back as well in the Carrot car. So plenty of potential for this category and big things afoot for this year. Kerry Bailey, though, trying to hold on to the back of Darren Hossack. Kerry Bailey's had Glenn Seaton helping him out for the last season or so, and some rumours around the paddock I heard on Friday, Jeff, that Kerry's got a new car underway. When he gets that on the racetrack, there's talk that Seato might jump in the 300ZX.
Yeah, I can't comment on that. That's a rumour, but I wouldn't comment on it because I don't know whether that'll happen. But yes, he has got a new car being built, and this is going to be something unbelievable as well. So Kerry Bailey, a 5 times national champion, hasn't been up there for the last few seasons and really wants to get back, but it should be a very, very nice car, and an Aston Martin based looking car, so it should be absolutely fantastic.
Meanwhile, Luke Gilden on his merry own out in front, but still pressing on. Track continuing to rubber up after the rain this morning. You can see the water around. That's a look at the gap. We're still waiting. Where is second place? There it is, coming into shot now. What a huge lead Luke Gilden has here at Mallala. He's just driven into the distance. The fact that some of the gun competitors, I guess, the likely challengers to Gilden's lead started from the back of the field or had dramas early on, certainly haven't helped things as Gilden fires his way through the kink up to the northern hairpin. Hossack's only going into turn 3.
Yeah, it certainly is, but you can see the difference from starting from the back of the grid or starting from the front row. It makes a big difference, and Hossack had to fight his way through all the cars to get through, where the Sonata Lounge's car way out in front, he's just had a clean run and managed to put everything together. We won't take anything away from Luke Gilden. This young fella is an absolutely brilliant driver and does a fantastic job. Won everything in New Zealand. The last 2 seasons now, he's won everything in this motor car. So it'll be great to see once Ricciardello gets his car on song, because he's had a shocker of a weekend, and also Hossack, if he doesn't have to come from the back of the grid, I reckon it's going to be right on, especially at Phillip Island, which is our next Carrick Sports Sedan Championship round.
Yeah, and when a couple of those other other cars you mentioned earlier on, like Dan Camp's Corvette and the Jaguar of Bernie Gillen come on strong, it could be a really fantastic fight at the front. And I think you're right, though. The battle for the lead, especially between the three that you just mentioned, between Luke Youlden, Tony Ricciardello and Darren Hossack, is going to be quite remarkable. Here is Youlden. He's on his final lap. I reckon he has the Clem Smith Cup fairly well locked away this year in the Ford Mustang. It's an awesome looking car. It sounds great, and he has proven that it goes very fast as well. Darren Hossack is in second place. Bailey maintains third, and Trent Young doing a great job in the turbocharged Mazda RX-7 to sit in fourth place. But this one is all about Luke Youlden and an awesome drive from the front. He has not been headed here today, and he is on his way to a very, very convincing win in the Clem Smith Cup.
And there's Luke Youlden coming around the last corner to collect the trophy for the Clem Smith Cup here at Mallala Raceway.
Yep, a dominating victory, Jeff, and a huge, huge margin at Mallala Raceway, and this will be a bit of a shockwave through the paddock, I think, for the remainder of the 2008 championship. Confirmation of results: Youlden wins from Hossack, Bailey and Young complete the top four. Crompton got home in fifth, ahead of Tomasi, Sinisi and Bob McLaughlin completed the top morning. It was a sunny Sunday afternoon at Mallala Motorsport Park that saw race 3 of the Carrick Sport Sedan National Series get underway, and Jeff Boyd a frenetic start as usual, but Luke Youlden and Darren Hossack, sideways as they were, went into turn 1 and diced it out pretty hard for the lead of this motor race.
They certainly have, and you can see Hossack there putting a lot of pressure on the Cobra Mustang in front, but just trying very hard to get up the inside.
These two raced close for the early laps of this third race, and both getting pretty sideways, and I think it's a sign of things to come, though this won't be, I guess, for Luke Youlden. He won't want that because he had a half lose down at turn 3 and lost a stack of time. Meanwhile, out in front, Tony Ricciardello charged from the back of the field, moved up the inside of Darren Hossack and took the race lead, and this was a great return to form after a tough weekend for the B&M Ricciardello car.
Yeah, certainly was. They're coming from the back of the grid, fantastic. Evan Hossack so having a look up the inside there, but we have got a safety car out, so therefore we'll have to redress that, drop back in, and Charlie Sinise is the cause of the safety car off into the gravel truck.
On the restart, there was going to be a need to redress that situation, and Ricciardello moved up the inside at turn 2. He was made to work for it to get up past Darren Hossack, but I think Hossack let him go past. He knew he had to redress that situation, and Tony Ricciardello took the lead down into turn 3. And from there on, it was clear sailing. Behind them, Luke Youlden came through, but after a very tough weekend, it was Tony Ricciardello who took out race 3 at Mallala Raceway, and he was pretty pumped about it too. The Red Rooster Alfa Romeo coming across the line to take it out and salvage some points from what had been a very tough start to his defence of his Australian Sport Sedan Series title, thanks to Carrick Industrial. There's the results. Ricciardello won from Hossack, Youlden was third, Bailey fourth, ahead of Tomasi, Young, Crop round of the 2008 Carrick Sport Sedan Series, and Luke Youlden is on top in the Trans Am Mustang. Kerry Bailey second, Cropton third, Young impressive in fourth, the RX-7, and Tony Ricciardello, the defending champ, in 8th place.
The young guns are lined up and ready to go. Round 5 of the 2008 Porsche Carrera Cup from the historic Sandown International Motor Raceway. Craig Baird, the Kiwi superstar, is trying to become the first ever driver to win multiple Carrera Cup championships in Australia. There's a whole host of young guns trying to steal back some of the championship points. 2005 Carrera Cup champ Fabian Coulthard's with me in commentary, and this track, Fabian, Sandown is suited to these cars.
Yeah, these cars are a great car, and especially with the engine being in the rear, you know, power down's very, very important in these cars. Turn 4 is one of those corners where you need excellent power down.
Turn 6, the S's, is one of the fastest corners in Australian motor racing, exciting from inside one of these 400 horsepower GT3 Cup cars. Let's take a look at the highlights of race 1 for this round, and amazingly, Craig Baird on pole. It's his first pole in 5 rounds so far in this year's championship. From the start, he led down into turn 1, on board with David Russell, in behind Rodney Forbes, who had a career best qualifying performance, third fastest during the qualifying session. David Wall lined up right behind in the Shannon's Insurance Porsche. And again, turn 4 was critical, but then this small touch from Rodney Forbes sent Aaron Karate packing straight into the barrier, and he ended up way back, a retirement in race 1. Barton Moore had issues too. He had a stuck throttle at the worst place possible over the top of the hill at turn 6 and struggled to pull that car up under brakes. He ended up out through the sandpit and would eventually finish 18th. Max Twigg had a spin in the first corner of the race, and he was a retirement without doing 1 lap. This was big in terms of the championship. Dean Fiore came into this weekend 93 points behind Craig Baird. That puncture did him no help. And James Moffat off the road, narrowly avoided by David Wall in the Jim Richards run Porsche. And then Moffat came under fire from his very own teammate, Bryce Washington, having a great weekend, fighting back from qualifying 9th. He was on a charge. Moffat very nearly ended up at pit lane entry. He sliced back quickly, though, to hang on from his teammate, Rodney Jane. But no one could catch the Gold Coast-based Kiwi. Craig Baird, after a win in the last 2 rounds at Barbagallo and Albert Park, drove away to take the checkered flag in race 1 from Forbes. Back at Sandown, race 2, getting ready in round 5 of the Porsche Carrera Cup. The starting positions are the finishing order of race 1, and you'll notice too, no Rodney Forbes there. He was given a penalty after that contact in the first race.
Yeah, it's a slight contact with Aaron Carratti and Rodney, and that's what happens. That's the result you pay.
So there's Forbes, position 15. A lot of work to do. Dean Fiore, his championship, that really hurt starting 17th.
Sure does, you know, punctured tyre in race 1. Here we go, race 2.
Craig Baird again from pole. David Russell, though, noted for getting exceptional starts in Carrera Cup. He'll argue the point, but he's on the wrong side.
Yeah, it makes it very, very hard, especially around the outside of turn 1. It's very tight. Beardo's definitely got the racing line here.
He'll slot into second. There's John O'Lester in the black Porsche going around the long way. He's driving with glandular fever for your old team, Greg Murphy Racing.
Yeah, must be a tough old job for Jono to be racing with a glandular fever, but yeah, it's a fairly solid result in race 1. Hopefully he can do it again in race 2.
Have a look at this. Carnage down at turn 4. This is car park stuff. Theo Kanduris goes around, and the rest of them have got nowhere to go.
Absolutely nowhere. It's like the M1.
Oh, look at this. Rodney Forbes. If race 1 wasn't bad enough, now he's got a damaged car there, slowly but surely clearing the zone. But look at all that coolant on the track. That will be, well, that'll be impossible to clean all of it up.
Oh, yeah, exactly. It's one of those things with the radio's position at the front of these cars. It's normally you spin on your own coolant, and as we can see, some people have done that. So it's very, very slippery stuff. It's a mixture of water and glycol, which is antifreeze, and you know, it makes a recipe for disaster.
Andrew Moffat in that yellow Porsche there was following Theo Kanduris. The rest just nowhere to go. Mark Sini, who is sponsoring this round of the championship through his Hallmark company, is unfortunately one of the innocent bystanders in all of that. And Barton Moore, after that drama in race 1, he's parked as well. So we've nearly wiped out half the field.
Yeah, it's not good for the category, especially. It's one of those things, but you know, racing's very clean and fast, and hopefully all the guys will get it fixed for race 3.
I'm guessing yeah, what can you say, Rodney Forbes? The Porsche spare parts truck is going to be working pretty hard. Dean Fiore's limped back to pit lane, but this, oh, and Aaron Carratti's out too. This absolutely burns them in the championship.
It is. The championship's all about accumulating points, and you know, every race and every round you go to, it's about getting as many as you can, and unfortunately some of those blokes will have a big 0 next to their name for race 2.
And the thing that hurts them is that the guy who will lead us on the restart, Craig Baird, is picking them up by the handful. He came in 93 up on Dean Fiore. We get race 2 back underway, and he is really the master on this Michelin control tyre when it's cold. Look at David Russell, big brake lock up, and these cars don't run the ABS braking system that the car that you were more familiar with did.
For sure, the ABS is it was probably a bit of a saving grace in these kind of conditions. So with no ABS basically means if you push the pedal too hard, and a combination of the bumps into turn 1 means, you know, the left-hand front wheel will lock, and you know, if you do that too many times, you create a flat spot.
The entire field made it through turn 4 where that coolant was down. Here is the fight for second between David Russell and David Wall, who this track, Sandown, you can't go testing on it during the week, as is the case with other circuits, but he has done a bit of a drive day here with Jimmy Richards' Targa Porsche, so having those extra couple of miles really helps.
Oh, for sure. Any miles you get on a track that you don't get to test at's very, very valuable. So, you know, we can see in David's results here this weekend, it's definitely paying off.
damage there on the exit of the last turn. There's a big curb, but there's plenty of concrete on the outside, and you can use all of that in these cars.
Yeah, there's definitely a unique line to the exit of that corner, and if you get it right, you know, it's not bumpy at all, and the concrete's got a lot of grip.
If you get it wrong,
oh, you bounce all over the place. You know, these Porsches are so stiffly sprung, probably bounces you 3 feet the other way.
David Russell, real pressure here from David Wall. James Moffat lined up in fourth. Can the young guns catch Craig Baird? We'll find out after the break. The racing is close at Sandown. It's race 2, round 5 of the Porsche Carrera Cup. David Russell leading a freight train. David Wall tucking up for the slipstream down the back straight towards the S's, which, in strictest speaking terms, Fabian Coulthard, is not really a passing zone.
No, it's, you know, these cars are so evenly powered, it's, you know, very hard unless the guy makes a mistake. So, look at this lunge.
Unless you make a lunge, that works.
Did. Great move.
So David Russell seemed to be holding the freight train up, because have a look at how many cars are stacked up in this queue. There's about 6 or 7 with Paul Stokel at the back of the field. Now, James Moffat makes a move and hangs Russell out through the grass. Washington gets him. Jono Lester's through. Rodney James pounced as well, and Paul Stokel. So he's gone from the front of this queue all the way to the back.
It's a tough learning there, wasn't it?
Gee, you get passed by one. The last thing you expect is for everything else to go haywire. This is James Kondouris, who won the Pilatus Challenge in race 1. That's the championship within a championship for the non-professional drivers over the age of 30 years. But Paul Stokel back in Carrera Cup this weekend, replacing Ian Sherrin, jumping backwards and forwards from the Porsche to the Mini. You've jumped from Porsche to V8 supercar before. How hard is it to change the mindset?
Oh, I'd imagine jumping from a Mini into a Porsche, the horsepower difference alone, the size of it, you know, that's going to throw your equilibrium out, you know, no end. So I'd imagine he's battling a wee bit, but, you know, the way he's going today, it's actually not doing too bad at all.
And you've got to remember which side of the car to get him through too, don't you?
Exactly, that always plays a part. Also, which hand to change gear with.
Oh, Bryce Washington losing a spot to Jono Lester. He was pretty disappointed with how qualifying wound out. He was way back in the order. He was 9th. He really needed to make up some ground in race 1, and he managed to do that. But a real dogfight here in race 2. But out of it all, Craig Baird is driving away.
Yeah, it's, you know, the guys in there, I'm sure, are thinking about that. You know, the only way to fix that is to stop dicing with one another and try and catch the bloke in front. So I'm sure they're well aware that Craig's pulling away, and, you know, they're all going to have to start working together to catch him.
Here's David Wall. He's off to the Sepang 12-hour in August to drive his Porsche RSR sports car in that endurance race. Here's Sean Juniper, who's fresh back from the Nürburgring 24-hour race with a little bit of damage there to the rear bumper, but nevertheless is pushing on. But David Wall, this is his best run of 2008. It's been a really, really tough year in the car that Alex Davison drove in last year's championship, and James Moffat closing in too. So the rookies are just bringing that margin to Craig Baird down all the time.
Exactly. With Craig, he's driving the cars all the time, and it's hard to beat someone that's driving these cars, you know, every day and every opportunity they can. So these guys are getting to grips with the Porsche and how they respond and how they react, and, you know, it's definitely showing round by round they are creeping up and catching Craig.
Jono Lester, the young Kiwi, driving for GMR. There he is in the famous number 51. He did some laps around here with Greg Murphy in a Toyota Echo production car of all machines, which is a little bit different, but I guess it gives you an idea of which way the corners go.
For sure, you know, for Jono, never really seen the track or driven on the track before, it's a great way for him to learn, you know, which way the track goes. I think probably he spent plenty of time on the PlayStation, you know, learning it that way, but, you know, it seems to be working for him.
Here's James Kondouris in the Supermarkets machine. He's in behind Peter Hill. These two are fighting for the Pilatus Challenge points. But here's the man who is bagging the big ones, Craig Baird, on the run down through the S's. Important not to use that last curve on the left there, because it can really unsettle the car.
Especially in a Porsche with their suspension package is so stiff, the car's so stiff. Any upsetting, especially under brakes, when the car's, you know, very loaded over the front wheels, it locks the left front very easily.
In car with David Russell. In that section of the circuit, there's actually a surface change, which can be difficult.
Yeah, exactly, and it adds a new dimension for the guys, and it's all part of, you know, racing on a racetrack, really.
Bryce Washington tucked in behind the rear wing, the John O'Lester Porsche.
Bryce looks pretty strong under brakes into turn 1.
Oh, little lock-up from Lester too, but it's pretty hard to make a move through these next couple of corners unless there's a massive mistake.
Yeah, well, these cars are all, you know, identical and same horsepower, so it's all about making the guy in front make a wee mistake, which, you know, Jono just has, and that gives you an opportunity to pass.
He just rode the curb there, and as the car came back off the curb to the bitumen, it was still unsettled, and Washington got the run, got the drive, and is starting to pull clear and has set the second fastest lap of this race, second only to his teammate James Moffat, who is a little bit further up the road. But this being round 5 of a 9-round championship, it's all about banking those points, and the young guns have given Craig Baird a run for the first half of the year. That experience is coming through.
For sure, you know, Craig will know what he has to do now, and with the points buffer that he's got over these first 2 races, it's he'll be working out what he has to do to, you know, get that elusive championship.
Now that was Andrew Moffat running off the road wide at the exit of Dandenong Road, falling back into the clutches of James Kandouris. They sound fantastic. 3.6 litre Boxer 6 engine, 400 horsepower, great race car.
Oh, they're unreal. It's they've got some great fundamental things, you know, with the engine being in the rear. Not many race cars you see these days have the engine in the rear, and the sequential gearbox, you know, it's getting more and more like a supercar every day.
James Moffat on a charge. He is the fastest man in race 2 at Sandown. Now this is a place synonymous when it comes to the name Moffat. His father Alan, a 6-time winner of the Sandown Endurance Classic. Here's this freight train: Washington, Lester, Rodney Jane, Paul Stokel, and David Russell, who has really drifted back in the Boom Logistics car, just doesn't have the pace.
Yeah, I think he'd be a wee bit disappointed with starting off on the front row and drifting so far back in the pack. You know, I'm sure he'll be finding some answers to get back up to the front.
He's been able to get 3 podiums this year in 3 of the rounds, has won an individual race at the season opener in Adelaide, but just hasn't been able to string it all together and come up with that elusive first round win. And I guess when you make the great starts like he does, it must be so heartbreaking to not have the pace in the race and not get the result at the end of the weekend.
Exactly. As a driver, it's always about getting that first win. They say if you get that first win, you know, the rest start to come a wee bit easier, but at the moment he seems to be battling to get that second win, but I'm sure he's definitely on his mind.
James Moffat continuing to close in here on David Wall in the Bob Jane T-Mart's Sonic Porsche. He's got a lot of pace on board, coming from his first podium finish in the last round at Barbagallo in Perth. And he has really led the way for the Sonic team this weekend. He's pressuring Wall on this final lap, but really, unless Wall makes a mistake, there shouldn't be a change.
No, definitely not. I think Wall's definitely got it covered. You'll see he'll probably defend a wee bit into the last series of corners, which he does, and it's going to be very hard for Moffat to get past.
Craig Baird leading the way off the final turn at Sandown. There's another checkered flag waiting for the Kiwi. He takes race 2.
Mate, thank you. Solid work, brothers. David Wall finished second, then James Moffat, Washington, Lester.
So as the team gives him the rundown on who finished where, here's the results in race 2. Bryce Washington in 4th, clear of Jono Lester, but a tough. Let's look at highlights in the 3rd and final race, and it was a damn track for the Porsche Carrera Cup. Max Twigg came unstuck again, so he didn't complete 1 racing lap all weekend. The teammates, James Moffat and Dean Fiore, got together, but Craig Baird, a slow start on the wet part of the circuit, and he had to start to work his way through the order. Moffat out wide and 4-wheeling through the scenery. David Wall, though, under real pressure from the championship leader, as Wall tried to become a first-up winner in Carrera Cup. He would hang on right through to the checkered flag and withstand the great pressure from the Peter Fitzgerald Porsche, and Wall took his first race win and his best ever result in Carrera Cup. He finishes second for the round of Craig Baird. Bryce Washington, though, his first podium result of 2008, and it's been a while coming for both. 8 points seconds clear in the championship of Dean Fiore. That's over a full round. Aaron Karate back there in 5th, but they've given the Kiwi. And welcome to our highlights package of the first 3 rounds of the Genuine Ford Parts Australian Formula Ford Championship for 2008. As you can hear, the engines are fired up for this season of racing in the open wheeler category that continues to bring out the stars of the future. Today we'll take a look at round 1 at Eastern Creek Raceway, round 2 at Wakefield Park near Goulburn, and round 3 on the long straights of Sandown in Melbourne. But to kick off the show today, let's take a look at the action from round 1. Eastern Creek was the site of the championship starter for 2008, and Brad Lowe right at the front of the field looking to finally break through and win some races in 2008. There's a new batch of Cam's rising stars this year, and Scott Pye found himself in drama at turn 2. Ben Morley back for the full championship in 2008, driving an Aussie-built Spectrum chassis. He carried the in-car camera. Daniel Eriksson, one of 3 Cam's rising stars for this year. As always, the fight right throughout the field was really intense in Formula Ford, with a whole pile of new drivers to this level. Paul Laskazeski there in the Synergy Motorsport car, coming back after a break of a season. Taylor Gore driving for the Brightech Motorsport Scholarship Squad with Bruin Beasley's Minder Motorsport outfit. Got it wrong down at turn 1, but Laskazeski was on a real charge, and he went on through by Ben Morley on the run through to turn 1. Brad Lowe, his teammate, was out in front, and Morley put the move back on at turn 2. So the racing was really intense at Eastern Creek, a track that really promotes a lot of overtaking in this open wheeler category. But Laskazeski wasn't done with. Down at the final turn, shoved it straight towards the inside, but Morley had the drive off the final turn. But Brad Lowe, he was the man in front for the tune of 4.5 seconds, and he cleared away to take that win at Eastern Creek. Laskazeski failed by just 0.06 of a second to steal second spot from Ben Morley in what was a pretty closely fought race. Now, highlights of race 3, and this contact at turn 1 sent both Robert Munnelly and Scott Pye flying off through the scenery and right down towards the tyre wall. Nick Percat started in 7th in the No Fear Miguel, driving this year for the Sonic Motor Racing team, and he worked his way through the order and went right through them all to go towards the front. He went by Ben Morley and ended up finding himself not just in the lead, but he took the win in the 3rd and final race in round 1 at Eastern Creek, but it wasn't enough to stop Brad Lowe from taking the round win. 3rd place in race 3 was enough to do the job. Ben Morley solid, 2nd in the race, 2nd in the round. Paul Laskazeski 4th in the last race. He rounded out the podium for round 1 of the championship. After the break, we move to Wakefield Park for round 2. Park for round 2 of the Genuine Ford Parts Australian Formula Ford Championship. Rob Story and Christian Limbom will start from the front row of the grid, and they've taken 1 win each apiece this weekend, so this is very much a decider in what is a big field of cars for the Genuine Ford Parts Australian Formula Ford Championship, and a lot of fast guys coming from the back of the field. Brad Lowe, who was the championship leader after winning the first round at Eastern Creek, he's had a shocking weekend, has a long way back. Jessica Golding making her debut too, from 23rd on the grid. But Will Davison, green flag at the back of the grid. It's all about getting the start.
It is very difficult track to pass, Wakefield Park, but Formula Ford's creates the best racing in the world, and there's always action and there's always some way to get around another car.
Rob Story taking the lead in the Comtech chassis down into turn 1 from Christian Lindbaum, who is making his first start of the season. He missed the first round at Eastern Creek because of a budget constraint. He's managed to put together a few sponsors to get into the 3rd of the Sonic Motor Racing cars this weekend and remind people of what he can do, because he did finish 4th in last year's championship.
That's right, he had a great year last year, but These are young guys out of go-karts trying to establish a career in motorsport. Christian Lindbom's just scraped the funds together to drive with one of the best teams in the grid, Sonic Motorsport, and he is just desperate to make amends this weekend. This is his one opportunity to try and prove to people that he should be in the championship. He can win the championship, and to do that, he needs sponsors to help him get to the next round at Sandown. Great move up the inside into turn 10.
In car with Rob Story, now in second spot. He's driving a Comtech Spirit chassis. There's only 2 of those in the field, but if you think the name sounds familiar, it is, because he's the son of Team BOC engineer Wally Story.
Yeah, I know those guys. They're very clever guys, and it's so good to see a different manufacturer of a chassis in this category. We're so used to the Spectrums, the Van Diemen's, the Magales, and now we've got the Spirit running up the front.
Lindbom using all of the curb. Just behind them, Paul Laskazeski, who took pole position earlier on in the weekend, had a spin in race 1 and has been working his way back through the field. He's right in the mix there. There he is in third spot in the Synergy Motorsport Spectrum. So it's a Mallala, a Comtech and a Spectrum 1, 2 and 3. Just going to show that the chassis fight is just as much a critical factor in Formula Ford as the driver fight.
It sure is, and that's why this category has created so many champions. Not only does it teach you fantastic racecraft, and it teaches you how to work, you know, with your engineer, trying to get the most out of the suspension, the shock absorbers. So many little things you can play with in Formula Ford.
Christian Lindbom doing a great job for a guy who hasn't driven a car in some 3 or 4 months. Here's his teammate Nick Perkin in behind Blake Varney in the Autobahn machine. A replay over at turn 10, some contact there, and that's Adam Graham in one of 4 Brytech Motorsport scholarship cars that finds himself pointed in the wrong direction. He's had a pretty solid weekend, a 5th and a 6th place, but that really does ruin things for him. But his top 3 have really cleared away.
They have, and generally you see in Formula Ford the slipstream battle, and once a small group works together, they can generally drag themselves away from the cars behind, and that's what these guys have done. I just love watching these cars. You know, they move around, they've got no wings, they've got no aerodynamics. There's always big lunges. Let's go on board with Rob Story here.
He's trying to get the crisscross manoeuvre on Laskazeski, who just sweeps across to hold on and take the line into 1.
That's great vision there. You can see these cars. You've got to drive them on the throttle. There's so much oversteer. You can just attack these cars at 100%, and commitment is always rewarded in Formula Ford. The harder you drive and the more brave you are, the faster you go.
This is the first time that Formula Ford has been to Wakefield Park in a couple of seasons. Back in your day, it wasn't on the calendar, and the cars have changed. There's more powerful engines, and they're about 2 seconds faster than the existing lap record of your old mate, Jamie Winker.
Yeah, that's right. That's definitely a good move, going to the new Duratec engine. You can just hear they're running the same tyres that I was on when I was in the championship. They've got that extra horsepower, and I think that's added a new element to the setup of the cars and to the driving of the cars. I think you have to be that little bit more careful on the throttle and just be a bit more patient to help prevent that oversteer that we always see in Formula Ford.
4th spot is Daniel Eriksson. He's the best of the CAM's Rising Stars drivers, of which there are multiple cars again this year. Nick Perkin here trying to get on by Martin Swindles in another of the Brytech Motorsport scholarship cars. He is the Victorian champ from last year, stepping up into the National Championship this year, and it just raises the bar that extra couple of notches.
It does. You move from the state series into the national championship, where you've basically got the best guys from every state going for the national title, and you've really just got to up your level in fitness, in psychology, and working with your engineer, because it's absolutely everything to get the most out of every single weekend and make every post a winner at this level.
Brad Lowe here in the Synergy Motorsport car. He's had a shocking weekend. He came in as the championship leader. He qualified 14th and has finished 14th and 13th in the 2 races so far, and is not feeling well with the virus. That is Chaz Mostert there in the number 15 car. He is just 15 years of age, driving for Howard Racing, who are stepping into Formula Ford this year. Regulars in the Fujitsu series. He's under real fire, but it's Christian Lindbom who leads the way in Formula Ford at Wakefield Park. Formula Ford Ford, Will Davison, is turning it on, and so is Christian Lindbom, the race leader.
He is. He's driving for the Crack Sonic Motor Racing team. They're the championship-winning team from last year. It's the team that I won my Formula Ford championship with in 2001, and Michael Ritter always runs an absolutely unbelievable show. And for Christian Lindbom to be able to prove to everyone that in his one round that he can win, that's making a big statement.
Scott Pye there holding off Rob Story. Blake Varney is the next through. Massive field of cars here this weekend. The strength of Formula Ford has been really great to see this year. That's Lucas Dumbrell in the third of the Sonic Motor Racing cars, the younger brother of Autobahn V8 supercar driver Paul Dumbrell, and he's got Nick Foster in behind him, who is just 16 years of age. They just seem to be getting younger and younger.
It's fantastic, and that's what Formula Ford's all about. These are young guys straight out of go-karts, and this is the first time they can learn how to change gears. They can learn how to
run off the road.
Try to not run off the road, and that's why we always see so much action. It's trying to control these young blokes and tell them that they're not in their go-kart. They can't bank side pods. They've got suspension. They've got wheels hanging out.
That's Martin Swindles, who had that run off the road just before and has another one on the exit of turn 9. He's dumped a whole heap of spots. Scott Old there up the inside in the second of the Howard Racing machines, but Lucas Dumbrell under real fire here from Nick Foster, who's just trying to edge across to the inside for turn 1.
Going nice and defensive there, Lucas. He's doing quite a good job, actually. He's quite inexperienced. He's driving with a fabulous team, so he's got a wealth of experience there, and those guys will really be able to help him, and hopefully he'll be right up on the podium as the year goes on, having a great dice here.
He started from position 14, so he's worked his way through, but behind these two, Brad Lowe's managed to claw his way up into the action, and he's pretty desperate to just score some form of points in this last race because he's had an absolutely shocking weekend. He's a test driver this year for the Ford Rising Stars team in the V8 Supercar Series, but that was a nice move from Nick Foster.
It was. Lucas ran a tiny bit wide, and Foster just capitalised and got straight up the inside. And what you've got to try and learn with these guys is they have to be patient, and it's pretty difficult sometimes to teach 16-year-olds to just hang back and be sensible. They're always 110%, always being aggressive, and more often than not, that gets you into trouble.
Jake Chapman in another of the Cam's Rising Stars cars has closed in here on Brad Lowe. These cars, though, 4-speed gearbox, no aerodynamic grip, no slick racing tyres. It really comes back to learning how to set up a race car.
That's right, you don't rely on the aerodynamics, and I can tell you they are a lot of fun to drive when you get them right. They've got surprisingly quite a lot of grip, and you just really drive them on the throttle. You can hang the back out, and they're so light and nimble that you can just attack and break legs and get on the throttle early and just carry momentum, and it really is a lot of fun, and I've got some fantastic memories from my days.
Christian Lindbom leading the way, but Paul Laskazeski pulls out of the slipstream on the run down to turn 1. He squeezes up the inside, takes the lead. Nice move.
Yeah, nice, brave move. Very kind on Lindbom's behalf, I must say. He gave him a car with the room on the inside, and really that's what it's all about.
You can see that they can attack this part of the circuit, really throw the cars around. This track's been completely resurfaced, so there's plenty of grip. Mistake from Scott Pye. He was position 3. Oh, so much dirt there. And that gives Rob Story 3rd spot.
It does. He saw a Pye in front of him there, slid wide in the marbles. Story held on line, gained up a position. Great stuff.
Now, Laskazeski here was 12th in the first race, 3rd in the second race. Lindbom has had a 2nd and a 1st, so he could clinch the round by staying very smart here and finishing in 2nd.
And it's an old head on young shoulders there from Lindbom. We saw him give Laskazeski room at turn 1. Hopefully he can keep his composure. He knows he's got a points advantage, and he knows how important a round win would be for him right now.
Hard on the brakes, down into turn 2. He makes a lunge.
I'll take my words back. I'd say that was a beautiful move, quite aggressive, but he was forceful, and he committed to the move. And we've had a
heavy contact. That's on the run towards turn 10. There's cars coming back from the other side of the circuit. That's one of the Brightech cars in among there. It's a bit hard to tell exactly who it is. That's Nick Foster's car, and that is a canoe.
That's a nasty accident. You can see the dust there created a huge issue like in the Development Series race. We've got a safety car out now.
Brad Lowe's involved, so his weekend has gone from bad to absolutely worse. There are so many cars involved in here, it's a bit hard to ascertain who's gone where. Lucas Dumbrell, Nick Foster, they're all involved in this. And that dust cloud, I think Ben Morley might have been in there too. It was a little bit hard to tell who was going what, where, how and why. And the dust cloud simply means it's impossible for the following traffic to know, bang, there's the contact.
Yeah, that's frightening stuff. I've been in that position myself before, and you enter a cloud of dust or smoke and you are literally blindfolded at 150, 200 kilometres an hour, and you're just praying there's not a car sitting at the other end. Unfortunately for these guys, the track was blocked, and that's resulted in a big accident.
The race has been stopped, red flag, so Paul Laskazeski is the winner from Christian Lindbaum. Now, Rob Story's finished third on the road, but is going to be removed from the results for a technical infringement. And Chaz Mostert, at 15 years of age, becomes the youngest ever point scorer in an Australian Formula Ford round. It also moves Robert Munnelly now into the top 10 and into the points. A bad one for Brad Lowe, but plenty of action, plenty of carnage at Wakefield Park. Round 3 highlights after the break from Sandown. Plenty of Ford flags at Sandown, round 3 for the Genuine Ford Parts Australian Formula Ford Championship. Let's take a look at highlights of all 3 races. And in race 1, it was all the Australian-built Spectrum chassis at the front of the field. Really healthy field in 2008. Adam Graham up on the curb at turn 1. The safety car made an early appearance, and this was why. Lucas Dumbrell involved with Chaz Mostert down at turn 1. We restarted, and they all had to chase Paul Laskazeski, who was in absolutely scintillating form. Blake Varney smacked the wall on the exit of turn 4. Now, Adam Graham and Daniel Eriksson were having a great scrap, but then the brake rotor on Graham's car let go and put him into the wall through the S's. And in the end, the race was actually red flagged, so it gave the win to Paul Laskazeski from Scott Pye and Adam Graham. Race 2, the grid, the finishing results of the first race. Rob Story made a flying start in the Comptech Spirit chassis as the teammates Nick Perkett and Christian Lindbaum, who missed the first round of the championship, desperately tried to claw their way back up onto the tail of the leaders. Laskazeski, Scott Pye, Adam Graham, Ben Morley and Jake Chapman were all running up towards the front, and as always at Sandown, the long straights up and back meant that slipstreaming was absolutely critical. Pye around the outside across the top of the hill, but he ran out of road and needed to use some of the grass and was quick to cover. They weren't able to sneak on by from that small mistake, but it became really a fight for the miners because Laskazeski cleared away, and it left an enthralling fight between 5 cars. Graham up the inside of Morley at turn 4, who had the bottom of the car floored out on the curb, and they all started to attack the Newcastle-based driver. Nick Perkett went around the outside and then went for the inside, but only succeeded in taking both himself and Morley out of the race and out of the points. That brought out the safety car, and it was a move that never really looked like it was on. But again, Laskazeski 2 from 2 at Sandown, extending his championship lead for the Synergy Motorsport team. It was damp when we started race 3. If you're on the right-hand side of the road, it meant that that was where the grip was at. So the Cam's Rising Stars drivers were the ones to sprint in the early stages. Scott Pye leading Jake Chapman as they start to come to grips with the National Series of competition. Nick Perkett just found it slippery on the wet side of the circuit. Christian Lindbaum defended from Laskazeski, and then Perkett got involved again for the weekend with Martin Swindles, and both of them headed off to the grass. Adam Graham, he wasn't alone. He made a mistake too. Very, very easy to slip up on the wet curbs at Sandown. He resumed, but Scott Pye had his teammate Jake Chapman go around the outside, and a gearbox problem in Pye's car left him sailing back in the order and back into the clutches of Paul Laskazeski, who started slowly but came on strong, but not quickly enough to stop Jake Chapman from taking his first race win in the Genuine Ford Parts Australian Formula Ford Championship, but second for Laskazeski was good enough to give him the round win and extend his championship with 3 rounds down and 5 left to go. Morley sits second, clear of Adam